If you've been watching this channel at all this past year, you know what a huge fan I am of topwater poppers. I've used them for a long time and have had great success with them. I figured it was time that I counted down what I feel are the absolute best topwater poppers of all time. It's going to be a surprising list that I know a couple of these you would have never even considered. So stick around. We're going to talk all about it.
Got him. He came up and got it. Wow, he came up and got it. That's a nice fish. Oh no, oh wow, he's pulling, he's digging. Whoa, he's a big fish. Whoa, that's a good sized fish. Come on.
Welcome back to Lowbrow Fishing. And as I said in the opening, today we're talking all about topwater poppers. The topwater bite in my area has been great all year. It's been better than I can ever remember it being. And topwater poppers have been a huge part of that. I've caught so many fish, 3-pounders, 4-pounders, 5-pounders, and bigger on these poppers. They've been a huge player and a big part of my arsenal. And while this list is going to have some controversial choices, I'm sure, it's also going to have some notable omissions. So get down in that comment section and let's talk about what poppers you like best and why. But before we get started, if you like what I'm doing here, click that subscribe button down below. We'd love to have you as a member of this community. While you're down there, give this video a like. It really does help the channel grow, and I appreciate it so much. And if you get a minute, head on over to my patreon.com. It's where I post more personal videos about refurbishing my boat, or other things that are happening and viewer requests that I don't get to post here. I think you're really going to like it. So let's get right into the list. And first and foremost, I know this is going to stir some controversy. This guy right here. This is a Lucky Craft gunfish. And people will say, well, that's not a popper, lowbrow, that's a walking bait. This is a pencil popper. It's a skinny popper with a small popping mouth. Now, this I definitely work like a popper. I can also walk it a good bit. It spits and it chugs. And you know what? This popper with this clear color gets bites. I've caught some really nice fish on these. You know, I bought this at Ollie's. This was a great Ollie's pickup. I found this thing at Ollie's. I think I paid like $3.50 for it. And I've definitely gotten my use out of it. This is number 5 because it's worked well for me. Now, it would be higher on the list, perhaps if it was a more conventional type of popper. But it is a pencil popper. It's got that skinny body, and it walks good on the water. Plus, a lot of times, I just leave it in place, and I work it like a popper. I don't even walk it, because the way it chugs, the way it spits, it gets plenty of bites that way. So that's why it's number 5 on my list. Number 4? Old fan favorite. This is probably a fairly common choice with a lot of anglers, and that is a storm chug bug. This little guy right here has tore them up. I fish this in the wintertime. That's right, whenever it's cold and that water temperature is down in the 40s for my area, believe me, that's cold, I can still catch bass on topwater with this guy. That finesse, that smaller presentation, but it still makes a good bit of noise. And when those bass are feeling finicky or they're chasing smaller bait, this can be a huge player. I've caught many, many fish on this little guy. You know, it's a great bait to work whenever those bass don't want to commit to anything, but you're still able to see a few bass busting. I can get this. I've caught some really nice fish on this. It may be a small bait. It may be a tiny bait. I use this on a spinning combo because otherwise I wouldn't be able to cast it very far. But working it on that spinning combo, I've caught back-to-back earlier this year. I caught on back-to-back fish that I caught 2-3 pound or bigger fish. So that was a lot of fun. So obviously that's going to make the list. Now, the next one that's on the list, old favorite. This one here I'm sure is going to make everybody's favorite popper list. And that is obviously the Rebel Popper. I mean, how can you not love these things? You know, it's number 3 on this list for a reason. This is such a classic. I've been using these since I was a kid, and I've been catching fish on these since I was a kid. This was one of the first topwater baits I ever learned to use. In fact, it may have been the first one that I ever learned to use. I had buddies around me that were throwing it, and they turned me on to it. You know, when I was a kid, all I basically threw was a MEPS inline spinner, what we always called a MEPS, what everybody else calls a rooster tail, but where I'm from, we always just call them a MEPS. Every rooster tail, every inline spinner was a MEPS. And I threw a beetle spin. That's mainly what I threw. I had an older gentleman who turned me on to a Texas rig worm at a tackle shop one time. He showed me how to do that, changed my fishing. Then I had a couple of buddies of mine. They were a couple years older than me, and they were fishing with these Rebel Poppars. And I watched them catch fish. It triggered my interest, and it got me into topwater fishing. It took me a long time to figure out the nuances of it, but once I did, I never looked back. So that's why that's number 3 on the list. It's number 3 on the list because it's a classic, and to this day, I can still work it. You know, I can work it on BFS, I can work it on a spinner, or I can work it on a lightly rigged bait caster. And I have a lot of success with this. Here recently, you guys, if you've been watching the videos, you've seen me catching fish with this recently. And I will be catching fish with it in the near future. So, obviously, the Rebel Poppar has to be on the list. Now, next up, again, this is going to be another controversial choice. This one here is probably going to be the most controversial choice. But ever since I got turned on to this bait, ever since I started using it, I can't stop. It just catches fish. It looks like a gimmick. You would think, hey, that's meant to catch bass fishermen, not to catch fish. And if that was the intended design, well, it catches fish. So I can't have anything against it, you know, and that is this guy right here, the Booyah Prank. It's the popper with the lip on it. And my good friend, Hank Rogers, over at Bass Geek, he's the one who turned me on to this. And he said, Lowbrow, these things catch fish, but you got to figure out how to fish them. You are going to hate this lure until you love it. And he was absolutely right. They take a bit of getting used to. It's not going to pop quickly because every time you pop it, it's going to go underwater. That's what that lip does. But once you figure out how to angle your rod, how to have the right amount of slack in your line, how to just pop it just a little bit, you can actually get it to sputter 3 and 4 times in a row without it going up underneath the water. And then you can give it a real good pop. It'll make a big splash and go up under the water. And an added benefit is whenever you're done with the cast, whenever you're quitting on that cast and you're reeling it back to the boat or back to the bank, it acts like a crankbait, a square bill under the water. And it goes about, 1 to 2 feet down. It's got a really good wobbling action like a square bill would. And I get bites that way. So I get bites not just popping it on the surface, but I also get bites working it back to the boat. As a matter of fact, the last time I was out on the big lake and I had this tied on, it caught the biggest bass of the entire day.
Got him. He came up and got it. Wow, he came up and got it. That's a nice fish. Oh no, oh wow, he's pulling, he's digging. That's a, whoa, he's a big fish. Whoa, that's a good sized fish. Come on. Oh, look at this tank. Look at this tank. Oh my goodness, he came up and just engulfed that. Boy, you got a big hole in your head. Let go of my string. That's about a 2.5, maybe close to 3-pounder. Hank Rogers, buddy, this one is for you, pal. That Booyah Prank doing magic again. Boy, that thing just works. It just works. It just works. It's a great little bait. I mean, I'm all tangled up in my line here. I don't know how I'm going to get an old boy free. There we go. Got that free. Anyway. That's a gorgeous fish. Yes, that fish is pushing close to 3 pounds. and he came up and just annihilated it. All right, come here, you. .73. I was close. 2.73. I was close. I said about 3 pounds, between 2.5 and 3. So I hit it pretty much spot on, 2.73. So that's a good fish right there. All right, we're gonna let you go now. And there he goes. All right, awesome fish. Thank you so much, buddy.
So like I said, you can catch them whenever you're popping it or whenever you give up on the cast and you're cranking it back to the boat. A lot of times that bass will come up and absolutely obliterate it. It's happened to me several times. That's why it's number 2 on the list. I've only had it for a few months, but it really is that amazing. I know people are going to say, lowbrow, that's not a true popper. It's not a real popper, but trust me, once you figure out how to use one of those, you're never going to look back. It is such an amazing and such a different fish catching tool. Try it out. You're really going to like it. Now, what's number 1? And I know a lot of you are thinking, you've got one thing in your mind because I haven't mentioned it so far. It's got to be number 1, right? It's got to be the number 1 because it's such a classic. It's the one that everybody knows about. It's the one that all the old timers use and the one that they believe in, right? But it's not that one. It's this one. It is my Rico popper. And again, Hank over at Bass Geek, he sent this to me. This is a $25 popper. And if you know me, I would never spend that kind of money on a popper. In fact, I don't know if I'd ever spend that kind of money on any type of bait, with the exception of maybe a glide bait. Okay, I do have glide baits in my collection that cost plenty more than that. But glide baits tend to be more expensive. $25 would actually be relatively cheap for one. But this guy right here, it hits different. It is head and shoulders above every other popper I've used, including that Booyah Prank. Prank's a great popper. This, I have to keep myself from tying this on because otherwise every video that I would do would just be me using this over and over and over again. Because I know if those fish are hitting topwater, they'll hit this. If those fish are not hitting topwater, there's a chance they're going to hit this. And I sat on this for a couple of years before I started using it regularly, but the first time I tied it on, I was catching fish with it. And the biggest bass I've caught all year this year was on this popper. And I believe that fish was close to 7 pounds. So this catches big fish. And the thing I like about this is I can work it slow, I can work it fast, and it casts like a missile. Even on a bait caster setup, which is what I use this. I use this on a bait cast setup with a 7-foot or a 7.2 medium heavy rod with 30-pound braid to a 17 or 20-pound monofilament or fluorocarbon leader. And with that setup, for a more heavy-duty setup for working the vegetation, I can still sling this a good ways. And it's not really that heavy, but it kind of has a weight transfer design with that bead in it. And you can hear it. It rattles. It's got a good loud rattle. And that works in conjunction with how it's designed, where the way it works on the water. This walks. I can walk this like a spook. I can walk this like any walking bait. And the way that I work it is I give it a good hard couple of spots, couple of rips, and I let that water spurt everywhere. I let it chug and I let it spit everywhere. And then I'll walk it really quickly in place. Now, years ago, Rick Clunn, the old master himself, right? He won, what, 4 classics, 5 classics, Angler of the Year, an icon of bass fishing. This was one of his primary weapons. Rick Clunn used a Rico popper all the time. And the way he fished it is he never let it chug. He never let it spit. He always said that if it was chugging and spitting, it wasn't what he wanted. It wasn't going to catch bass. He always worked these very fast, ripping them through the water. Now, me, I kind of combine that with that stop and pause and working it in place with the strong pops and chugs, that bloop sound. This definitely has a distinctive deep toned bloop, which I feel that the bass really like. So I want to use that. And yes, I omitted the hula popper. I know that's going to be one of the biggest things I get in the comments. Lowbrow, hula popper. There, I fixed your video for you. Lowbrow, you didn't do the hula popper. I can't trust you because you don't have the best one on there. I caught fish on hula poppers for years. I have many hula poppers in my collection. All types of sizes, all various types of colors. I've got 1 hooks, I've got the 2 hooks, I've got the old ones, I've got the new ones. And for a long time, hula poppers would have made this list. But 2025 has really changed how I fish poppers. And hula poppers are just not part of my game plan anymore. Sure, they make a good, strong bloop. They make a good, strong splash. And you can work spots with them. And like I said, I've caught plenty of fish on them. But how I'm fishing a popper now, how I work them now, how I'm able to utilize those tools differently based on what I'm doing, it makes everything so much easier. Like I said, if you like a hula popper, and I suspect a lot of you do, that's fine. That's on your list and you feel confident in that lure. For me, before this year, it definitely would have made the list. But right now, I'm catching so many fish using these different poppers in different ways, and it just works. And you guys have seen the proof of it as I keep making the videos over and over talking about poppers. So there you have it. Topwater fishing is the most exciting way to catch bass, bar none. And once you start having success with a topwater popper, it's really hard to take them off and go to something else. This was my top 5 based on how I fish. You probably have a completely different style and have poppers that work for you. So talk about that in the comment section below. We'd really like to hear about it. Thanks for watching Lowbrow Fishing. We'll catch you in the next one.